Today I want to talk about something that doesn't really get mentioned enough when it comes to expat life or being an immigrant or living abroad in general. I have found this to be incredibly essential for surviving this incredible change. The power of alone time. I'm not talking about loneliness. I'm not talking about isolation because both of those kind of happen automatically, unintentionally. They're always there. I'm talking about intentional and meaningful solitude and how it can honestly make or break your experience of settling into life in a new country. This is one of those videos I wish I'd had when I first moved abroad. So whether you're thinking of moving in the middle of adjusting or just wondering why things feel a little bit heavy right now, stick around. We're going to talk about why alone time isn't just helpful, but absolutely essential. When you move abroad, even the smallest things become major decisions because you're not used to the environment, because you weren't groomed on the social norms and the social cues. Your instincts aren't on the same level as everybody else in your surroundings. So every little thing that you decide on becomes monumental to someone who is in that kind of situation, in that place. Where you have to go to buy groceries, will they have the things you like? Will there be different names for different vegetables and fruits that you're used to? How do you pay at the till or the checkout? And what do you say to someone if they ask if you're all right and you're like, yeah, why? Your brain is just constantly processing new inputs throughout your day, things that you never even thought about in your old world, things I never thought about when I was living in the United States. Rhythms, all those social cues, just new ways of doing things, new ways of doing everything. And if you're anything like me, when I first got here, you feel this like weird pressure to be on all the time, to prove that you are adjusting and you're actually trying to acclimate and assimilate, and you're trying to do it as quickly as possible. You add to that meeting people, trying to be adventurous, trying to be respectful of the new culture. But here's the thing. With all of that constantly going on throughout your day, that was completely different than what you were used to and everything that you took for granted in your previous life, in your previous country. You need space to process all of that, to sit time with your thoughts and reflect and just be without having to feel like you're translating every conversation in your head or wondering if you're doing it the right way. And alone time just tends to give you that space from your daily life, from the daily pressures. And most people don't realize all of those daily, day-to-day, minute-by-minute pressures that you feel as being an expat or an immigrant just living in a different country. For me, it was simple things like taking a walk alone with headphones from my favorite podcast in or my favorite music, or sometimes nothing at all, and just allowing myself to just take in the scenery, take in the noises, the different smells, all of that. Journaling a little bit every night before I went to bed, or sitting on my couch alone with no distractions, nothing on, and nobody else in the house. Just letting myself feel everything that I was feeling, everything that I had done up until that point without trying to analyze it or fix it. And those quiet moments became the absolute foundation for my adjustment of living here abroad. We talk a lot about the social side of moving abroad, right? Finding a new community, making new friends, building your network, and learning as much as you can about your new environment and your new country. And don't get me wrong, all those things matter. They matter a lot and they're very, very important. And you have to give your energy to them. But it's equally important to give time to spend getting to know yourself again in this new environment, away from all the familiar roles and all the familiar routines. When I first moved here, I kept myself really busy. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to explore everything. I wanted to talk to everybody. I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could. And I wanted to experience British culture as much as I possibly could, as fast as I could. I thought that was the way that I was going to get acclimated really easily and really quickly. I just did coffee dates, I did meetups, I did weekend trips. I did tons of videos and vlogging. I just did as many things as I possibly could. I was still in that kind of go, go, go mindset. But instead of go, 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 keeping myself busy with activities I was used to and filling my day with things that, were getting me to this point, getting me across the pond into this new country, I was filling it with just new ideas and new experiences, but not giving myself enough space to actually really process and appreciate them. And all through this time, there was this like low grade exhaustion that just would not go away. And I realized after probably 18 months or so it took me, that I wasn't really giving myself enough time to feel what I was going through, to appreciate what I was going through, to even process what I was going through. Alone time just allows your emotions to kind of catch up with your circumstances. It just balances the scales for you. And sometimes it's where homesickness actually shows up. But at the same time, it's where you learn how to adjust and how to carry that homesick with you in your new life. These are the moments where you actually start to notice parts of this new life that you genuinely love, not just what looks good on Instagram or any other social media, and not just a novelty. You're not just something that you're excited about for the moment because you've never done it or experienced it before, but what you actually genuinely enjoy. The other thing is that people have to realize is that moving abroad, you're on your own. You may have friends and family that are there to guide you and help you. You may have, well-intentioned people online that are trying to give you advice if they've gone through similar circumstances, if they've moved countries, all of that. But living abroad comes with really hard days, and there's just no sugarcoating that. Days when you feel not just, a few miles away from your home or not just one ocean, where you feel light years away from anything familiar, where everything unfamiliar around you just feels overwhelming. And when those days and moments come, and they absolutely will, alone time teaches you something so powerful, how you can comfort yourself. Because even if someone has been through the exact same steps to get to the same exact area of the new country that you're living in, doesn't mean that they know exactly who you are and exactly how you're going to feel and react to all of the steps along the way and everything that you're going through now. Back home in the United States, we are conditioned to rely on familiar people, familiar places, routines, and keeping busy. And all of that helps us as Americans get through daily life. But when you're living abroad, you don't have any of, and you are might not have found your comfort place yet, or your comfort food, or your routine that makes you feel like you're actually accomplishing something or getting somewhere in your life. While you're starting to build and learn those new comforts, you still need time to realize that that is what your comfort is and that is where you feel safe, whether it be a cozy corner in a local bookshop, the local pub, a brand of tea that when you make it, it makes you feel calmer and it gives you like a warm hug. You can't find that unless you realize that you are your own constant in this new life. And that's the only, and by getting to know yourself in this new environment, that's really the only comfort that you're gonna find. And that self-soothing skill, that quiet self-reliance that you have, is one of the greatest gifts that anyone living abroad can have. And it really starts with being okay with being alone with your thoughts and your feelings, and being able to appreciate everything that you come from and everything that you're going through. Most people choose to live abroad or to leave their home. Nobody chooses to leave their home unless they want some kind of change in circumstances. Hopefully, that's for something more from positive to a more positive circumstance. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. But one of the things that I've noticed after living in the UK for a little while now is that the alone time I'm allowed to experience and I give myself on a regular basis is when I actually start becoming a part of my new life instead of just kind of observing or going through the motions of things that are happening around me in my new environment. Sitting on a park bench and realizing that you're not just visiting anymore and that this is where you live. You have time to think about the kind of life you want to build, not just how to replicate the one you left behind in your home country. You're no longer reacting to change, you're actually affecting it. You're shaping your new rhythm, your new routines, and your new perspectives every single day. For me, it was in those quiet moments, walking home in the rain on my own, sitting at the back of the train with the roar of the train going and looking at the landscape that I was passing by, where I was like, damn, this isn't just an experience. This isn't just a temporary moment in my life. This isn't a glitch where I'm going to go back to reality at some point. This is my life. This is my new life. And it was mine to design and mine to appreciate. And if I didn't start doing that, then I was going to waste this incredible opportunity. I want to ensure that you understand that it's about being intentional about your alone time and not making sure you're taking the breaks that you need and making sure that you're giving yourself time to rest and reset in between all of these seemingly monumental moments. So they may seem like everyday nothings to most people around you. It actually does take its toll on you, and it actually is really hard to process on a regular basis. But it doesn't mean that you need to shut yourself off from people that you love or the society around you or the world in general. It's not about withdrawing or avoiding connection. It's about grounding yourself so that you can show up more fully in your work, in your family, in your relationships, in your friendships, for your community, and for this new adventure of living abroad that you were so excited about a little while ago before the reality set in that well, I actually have to do the work in order to make this a new life. Alone time is kind of, for me, the anchor. It allows me to reflect on where I've come from, on whether or not I was making the right decision, on what parts of the United States that I liked and I want to try to reestablish here in my new life in some way, and what I definitely don't want anymore. And conversely, what I love about being here in the UK and what I want to make sure I make as part of my daily or monthly routines and what I want to make sure I experience or avoid while I'm living here for as long as I possibly can. Alone time helps you reconnect with your values and your personal moral compass, your energy, and the why that made you kick off on this huge adventure to begin with. And if you can cement that in your heart, in your brain, in your soul, and you make all your choices, no matter how insignificant they may seem to everybody else, but if you make all your choices from that place, everything about living abroad gets so much easier and it looks so much brighter and you feel so much less heavy and you feel lighter. And that is probably the most important lesson I've learned through this experience so far. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself space. Don't worry about other people understanding it. Just remember that being alone doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're actually listening to yourself and that you're taking the time to really get the value out of this experience that you deserve.